Welcome to This Week Live, the show. I'm Tad Johnson, managing editor of This Week newspapers and the Dakota County Tribune Business Weekly. Today's guest is Lynae Gieseke, executive director of the Minnesota Valley Humane Society in Burnsville, which recently announced plans to move to Eagan next year. I'll share more about her in a minute, but first I'd like to tell you about some of the stories you will find in our newspapers and online at thisweeklive.com. Costco Wholesale Corporation will finally build one of its member-only retail warehouses in Burnsville. The Burnsville City Council unanimously approved plans March 16th for a 157,000 square foot retail warehouse with a liquor store and freestanding gas station. Costco will build its first store south of the river on the 15.5 acre site now occupied by Grossman Chevrolet Cadillac. The Eagan City Council on Monday, March 16th, approved Lennar Corporation's preliminary housing plan for the former Carriage Hills Golf Course. Called Stonehaven, the plan includes 363 units of mixed housing on 115 acres, with 35 acres preserved as open space. The housing types include single-family homes, row townhomes, twin homes, and a future multi-level senior housing building. Jordan Dibb, a 2005 Farmington High School graduate, has planned a 100-day, 1,800-mile walking journey from Minneapolis to Miami to raise money for the poor and homeless in Haiti. After starting the website iwalkforlove.com, Dibb is training to walk an average of 23 miles a day. Dibb has a fundraising goal of $100,000, which he plans to donate to Action Against Hunger. Also online at thisweeklive.com, people can find photo slideshows from a community St. Patrick's Day parade in Apple Valley, the Lakeville North girls basketball team's action at the state tournament, and section boys basketball. Now I'd like to welcome our guest for today's show. Lynae Gieseke is the executive director of the Minnesota Valley Humane Society in Burnsville, which recently announced plans to move to Eagan next year. The Humane Society is located in Burnsville at the former City Hall since 1991. And since that time, it has found homes for over 45,000 animals and has one of the highest adoption rates in the country. Those accomplishments are due in no small measure to Lynae's leadership, so we are fortunate to have you here on the show. And I'd also like to welcome one of your pet ambassadors. This is Tucker. Why don't you tell me a little bit about him, maybe give him an introduction for me.
Well, Tucker, you can see he's really overwhelmed by being here and very nervous and high-strung. Tucker is about 3 years old. He's a Maltese Poodle mix, and he came to us as a puppy, was adopted by one of our human employees' families, so he now comes to work quite often with his big sister, his big human sister. And he is, last year he's become one of our animal ambassadors. So we have about 30 to 40 animal ambassadors who go out with their humans, and they go to schools, nursing homes, care centers, take part in parades, community festivals, this type of thing, representing the Minnesota Valley Humane Society.
Well, that's great. Now, obviously you announced your big plans to move to Eagan, and it's kind of been a long time in the works. Tell me a little bit about your feelings now that has finally been accomplished, I guess.
Well, it's a big relief. It took us about 14, 15 months, about 12 months longer than we ever imagined, and we're relieved that we now have now have a new address. We know where our new home is going to be. The city of Eagan has been very, very welcoming, and now the task ahead of us is just to raise the money to enable us to make the move.
Right. Yeah. The new address will be 951 Apollo Road, between Lone Oak and Yankee Doodle Roads. So it's going to be 19,000 square feet. It's going to double the size of the current space. So obviously this is going to come with some benefits. I guess, what do you see kind of as the immediate impact once you are able to open that up in January?
Well, we are so excited. Our current location is about 9,800 square feet. We have been there since 1991, and we've really been unable to grow any programs or services since about 2002. So we're looking forward to being able to have more space for animals, more humane space for animals, and then it also expand our education programs for both children and adults, and to be able to expand our K9U dog obedience training.
Okay.
And, 20 years ago, when Minnesota Valley Humane Society first was able to purchase that building and remodel it, people's ideas about humane treatment of animals and really how animals should be housed in the Humane Society has really changed. It's no longer humane to be housing cats in a 2x2x2 steel cage, or a dog in a 4x6 cement blocks and chain link cage. So we want to do things a little bit more humanely, and make the animals have them be more in a stress-free, a less stress environment while they're waiting for new homes.
So you might be able to have their holding areas kind of a little bit more spaced apart. You'll be able to have what'll be kind of the layout for them.
That's correct. We would like to have cats in more room type settings rather than in individual cages. Right now we do have 5 what we call cat suites, but they're pretty small, so we would like to double the size of those to give cats a little bit more room to run around and jump and play and so forth. Ideally we'd like to be able to, instead of taking animals out for someone to take a look at, we would like the human to go into the contained area with their potential pet to see how they would interact with it.
Mm-hmm. Now you place about 3,000 to 4,000 animals each year, is that right? And
that's correct. We take in somewhere between 3,000 to 4,000 animals, and then we do adopt out anywhere from, say, 2,000 to 3,000 animals each year.
Okay. Do you see that number kind of being able to increase once you make the move, or?
Yes, we are certainly hoping so. We know we will be expanding our impounding services. Right now, we are the impound facility for the City of Eagan Animal Control. Eagan police officers and their animal control officer pick up stray animals wandering the streets of Eagan, and then they bring them down to us, and we hold them for 6 days required by law. So we are hoping now in our new facility to be able to even expand impounding services for other cities, and several cities have showed interest in that.
Mm-hmm. Have you looked at other humane societies and seen what they've done with relatively new facilities or remodeled ones? I know we've had both the Animal Humane Society in Golden Valley and then also the one up in the North Metro in Coon Rapids have done some changes recently. Are you kind of looking to them for ideas? Or?
Yes, and interestingly, on my vacations for like the last 10 years throughout the country, or from Honolulu to London, I have visited animal shelters, humane societies there, and sometimes I've called and made an appointment so they know I'm going to be there. Sometimes I've just showed up, and invariably they'll always say, "Well, sure, let me show you around so you don't make the same mistakes we did." Mm-hmm. Everyone always has concerns about floors and air exchange, air quality, sound abatement, and being able to reduce stress in animals waiting there.
Yeah. Like you said, it took you about 14 months to find this site. What were kind of some of the challenges that you met along the way, I guess? What was kind of the most difficult part for you to finding this site?
Well, everyone is quite familiar with our dust up with Burnsville City Council, with our very first choice, the Maxon Building on Conroe 42. And since then, we've had there were 7 other sites we looked at, and for the first 6 sites, we were told no, because of zoning regulations, and the zoning regulations requirements aren't even consistent from city to city to city. So that was very difficult, and but actually the City of Eagan turned us down for our number 6 site, and that was probably a 3 or 4 month process working with city officials and city staff. But then they turned right around and said, "But we would really like to have you in Eagan. What can we do? Can we help you find a place?" and so forth.
Mm-hmm. It looks like you're estimating the total project cost will be about $2.1 million. Obviously, you've got to have some funds to do that. How's the fundraising going so far, and how much further do you have to go?
We have about $200,000 to $300,000 that we have raised so far in gifts and in pledges, and of course we are looking for more. It's our goal to be able to enter the building, move in with no mortgage. But as last resort, we will be seeking a mortgage. But we hope that there are a lot of generous animal lovers in the metro area and beyond. And we have, you may have mentioned, we have been around for 30 years. The first 10 years, we were all volunteer. People kept animals in their homes. There was no staff. And adoption days were done at vet clinics and feed stores and shopping malls and this type of thing. So they worked very, very hard for 10 years to raise enough money for a down payment. So we moved into the former Burnsville City Hall Police and Fire Station back in 1991.
Yeah.
So after 20 years, 20 years, we have outgrown that space. And now people coming to the Twin Cities area from other parts of the country, other humane societies, seeing what those organizations have been able to do with their children's programming, children's education, summer camps. And they're asking if we can provide those, and unfortunately at this point we can't. Mm-hmm. So there are revenue generating activities that we would like to be able to to start or greatly expand. Mm-hmm. So that we don't have to be relying on 100% on donations. Our budget is about $1 million a year. We have about 16, 17 employees right now and over 400 volunteers. We have we're one of the few nonprofits, I would say, in the metro area or even in Minnesota that really has all the volunteers we need. We're being very selective now on the volunteers that we are looking for, that different volunteer slots to fill, specific volunteer positions to fill. That might be anywhere from dog walking to cat cuddling to adoption counseling to answering our phones, helping at special events, going out with your specially trained animal ambassador, because not every dog or cat or rabbit or guinea pig or hamster or whatever can be an animal ambassador, and a variety of other activities.
Yeah. With the fundraising, how can people get involved with your campaign? I guess what's the best thing they could do? Obviously send you a check, right?
Well, of course. Or if people would like to make multi-year pledges to this. And one of the interesting things, interesting process that this has taken, so long, a lot more longer than we expected, Tad, was the prices of the buildings that we've been looking at they've been dropping more and more and more. So, really the silver lining, having to wait for 14, 15 months to find a place was we got at least a price that we never imagined possible, and to being able to remodel it to house animals, we had a price that we never imagined.
Mm-hmm. I guess specifically when people want to donate, is the best thing to just go to the website or call you up, or what's the best way for them to do that?
Yes, people can go to our website, and we have on the upper left-hand corner of our homepage, we have an announcement about we have found our new home, so people can click on that, read there, and then they can click on how they can either give us a one-time gift or commit to a multi-year pledge, or if they have an in-kind donation that they would like to give us of some sort, they can go through the website, or we have phone numbers of people that they can call also for more information.
Mm-hmm. You said that you were able to get a pretty good price on a building because of the economy kind of sagging a little bit.
Yes.
Are there some other ways that has kind of affected your operation, the economic conditions here? Just maybe tell me a little bit about that.
Well, sure. Well, even in good times, good economic times, with small nonprofits like ours, money is always tight. So in 2008 and 2009, we have made dollars scream in agony, scream for relief, and we're very, very. We try to be as prudent as possible with our donors' funds. We try to spend as much money as possible on animal care, and so we don't have the luxurious offices, the nice working conditions for humans, and that's one of the things I've said in our new building: no carpet anywhere.
So easier to maintain.
Yes, absolutely. Our carpet animals do not mix.
Yes.
So those are some of the considerations, and like I've mentioned, we've a couple of our operations employees resigned in 2009. We did not replace them. So we are trying to do more with less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You said you kind of want to dedicate most of your budget to obviously caring for animals. And I think people are very familiar with the adoption service that you provide, of course. But you've kind of mentioned some other things that you do, maybe some other revenue generators that they might be referred to, but maybe the classes in education. Can you talk a little bit about some of those other services that you provide people might not know about?
Sure. We have our K9U dog manners training. We've had that for approximately 7 years, and about 95% of the people who attend those classes with their dogs or puppies rate us as excellent or very good, that they would recommend us to others. So we're quite proud of that. So we have our K9U dog training for both puppies and older dogs. We have a series of those. We also have small dog playtime once a week for people for just their small dogs, because sometimes small dogs get intimidated by big dogs. So that's kind of interesting to see how the little dogs interact with that. And we have one of our K9U obedience trainers there to kind of keep everybody in line, which is kind of interesting. So nobody tries to be, the little alpha puppy or the alpha dog there, so to speak. We also have humane education for children. We go out into classrooms and present our programs. We also have give tours and programs in the shelter. We also, this summer for our 4th year, we'll be having our Playful Paws summer camp, which will be a 3.5-day camp for grades 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and 5 and 6. And the kids learn an awful lot about animals. Everybody has a really, really great time. And they do crafts and learn about animals, and not only companion animals, but other animals also. So it's an awful fun time for everybody.
Yeah. Obviously, you're going to be moving into a building, and that means maybe expanding services because, of course, you've got more space. And but you said off camera that one of the hopes is that you might go out of business. What would have to transpire, I guess, for your services to not be in such high demand?
Yes, and you probably you ask any humane society or animal shelter throughout the country, and our ideal goal, our long-term goal would be that we would put ourselves out of business, that there would no longer be a need for us to exist anymore, that every animal would have a loving home for its entire life, that people would be responsible pet owners and to spay and neuter their animals so it does not have continue having litters, that animals would not be dumped at our door, that people would be able to afford proper medical care, proper vet care for that animal. And that just the number of homeless animals would continue to decrease. Now it's interesting, about 25 years ago, and there has never been one organization or one way to track the number of homeless animals that there are throughout the United States. So about 25 years ago, there was possibly 25 to 30 million homeless animals. About 15 years ago, the number tossed out was about 10 to 12 million animals. Now, we usually say that there's maybe 4 to 6 million homeless animals. But unfortunately, the number is kind of leveled off at that point. And there are some areas in the country where a puppy is very, very scarce. Kittens are very, very scarce. There are some parts of the country where they bring in animals from other parts of the country. But even with that, there are still too many homeless animals.
How's the Twin Cities area doing in terms of kind of managing its population of pets? We talked a little bit about the other humane societies in the area. Are you able to kind of meet the demands that are out there right now with the current number of facilities that we have in the metro area?
The Minnesota Valley Humane Society, we are the only humane society serving the greater South Metro area. However, because of our good reputation and our high adoption rate, people come to us from all over, either wanting us to help them find their animal a new home if they can no longer keep it, or we have found that so many times these days, the first contact that people have with us is through our website, and they look at the photos and descriptions of the animals that we have available on our website, and they fall in love with somebody like Tucker, from a couple hundred miles away, and they will come to us and want to adopt that animal.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's one of the big pieces is your education. What would you say to kind of a family that is interested in maybe adopting a dog that's as cute and lovable as Tucker here, or a cat? Are there some considerations that you kind of coach people through before they kind of make that decision?
Yes, there is. Approximately a year ago, we started ASPCA's Meet Your Match program for dogs. And it's totally option, but when someone comes in wanting to adopt a dog or a puppy from us, they have to, we ask them to take a caninality test. And at the same time, the dogs, before they go up on our adoption floor, they're given a caninality test to determine, what is their personality? Are they a couch potato? Are they the life of the party? Are they going to get into a lot of mischief? Do they need a lot of exercise? So forth. So then the person comes in and takes the caninality test. It may turn out that they would be best suited to adopt a green dog, or a purple dog, or an orange dog. So they see what's currently available, and not that we would deny an adoption if say a green person wanted to adopt a purple dog, but just they might be counseled a little bit more. I grew up I as a non-animal person. It's interesting, and I thought all dogs were alike, and I thought all cats were alike. And actually, when I began working at Minnesota Valley Humane Society, I was terrified of huge dogs, and thought that all huge dogs are biters. And over the years, I've certainly learned that every dog has so many different So there are characteristics inherent to breeds. And then there are just certain, even though this breed may be predictable, that say 10% or 20% of this breed may be, totally different. So the caninality test, it may not be how that animal will end up, but while the dog is at our shelter, this is how it's acting. So for example, if somebody comes in and they want a dog to go jogging with them 5 nights a week, then if they fall in love with that basset hound, that might not be a good mix for them, okay? Or if, say, a dog was surrendered to us because it kept knocking down the small children, just in its overexuberance to play, we may not allow that dog to be adopted out to a family with small children. Because we want the adoption experience, the new pet experience, to be good for that family, but then also for that dog or cat. It's nothing cooler than to have that that animal being returned to us every week or 2 weeks because it just is not working. Sometimes we do. People do return animals for various reasons, but fortunately, that's a very small % of the animals that we do place in new homes.
Yeah, that's interesting that you said you didn't grow up with animals, but then now you're kind of running this organization. What drew you in?
Well, as a child, I'd always wanted animals. My parents grew up on a farm. Animals belong outside. So as a kid, all I could ever have was goldfish. I met my husband, and they had always had dogs in their family. But friends that we stayed at when we first moved up here had cats. And their cats kept having kittens. And finally, after my husband and we had got our first place, their cat had one last batch of kittens. They couldn't find a home for one last kitten. So they called us and said, "Would you like a kitten?" It's amazing to us that we didn't accidentally kill that cat within 6 months. We did so many things wrong, so many things that I look back now and it embarrasses me that we put that poor cat through that. Well, one cat led to 2 cats, 2 cats led to 3 cats, and so on from there. I jokingly say my husband and I, we have 5 letters of the alphabet to go through yet. Then we will have had 26 cats. Then we'll maybe be retired by then so we can finally get the dog we want.
So, after you got the cats, is that after you? When did you become associated with the Humane Society here? How did that happen?
Actually, I've been associated with Minnesota Valley Humane Society for 21 years.
Oh wow!
And when my husband and I, when we moved to the South Metro area back in 1989, I saw this little ad, probably in Thisweek newspaper, that the Minnesota Humane Society was looking for some volunteers. So I remember I showed up on a Saturday morning. There was no shelter yet. They were operating out of a one-room office suite type thing. I believe it was somewhere on Cliff Road. And I spent a Saturday morning slapping labels on a mailing piece that they were sending out. Then in 1991, when the shelter opened up, I became a Friday night volunteer accepting animals in from the public. And I did that for 7 years. And then in 1993, I joined the board of directors. And then in 1998, I was asked to take over as executive director. And so I've been executive director ever since. And it's been unlike anything I've ever done before. And I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Oh, that's great. Well, now you've got one event that's coming up here. Why don't you tell me a little bit about when Woofer and Hoofer is going to be?
Our Woofer and Hoofer, I believe it's our 26th or our 27th year for our Woofer and Hoofer, and it is our main fundraising event of the year. It will be held at Alley Magnet Park again in Burnsville this year on Saturday morning, June 5th. And we rely on donations from this walk. It is a pledge walk, and now with the internet, we've made it very, very simple for our supporters to raise money for us. They can go to our website, click on Woofer and Hoofer, learn some more details and so forth about it, and then they can set up their own fundraising page and email it out to everybody in their address book, asking for a small donation to help the animals at Minnesota Valley Humane Society. Some people will say yes, but some people, if they're not interested, they just hit that delete key. We make it very, very painless for everyone concerned.
Right. Well, it's a great program. You do some great work here in Burnsville and for Dakota County. So I appreciate you being able to be on the show today, and of course bringing Tucker with us. It's always nice to have another guest, especially when they don't talk back too much, right?
Right.
Well, that's about all we have time for today. Thanks for watching the show, and have a great week. And of course, you can always check out more news online at www.thisweeklive.com. Thanks.